Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Simulationist podcast. This is the 122nd iteration of the show, recorded on the 4th of January 2014. January the 4th be with you.
Not quite the same as May.
Not quite. We'll do that every month until May.
Not every day can be, Star Wars Day, though.
No, I guess not.
Although should we start, getting ready to celebrate the official release of the episodes, it'd be 7 now, that's coming up with the J.J. Abrams stuff?
I suppose we can just sort of anticipate it, continue to anticipate it a little bit more each day.
I'm proverbially holding my breath on that.
Yeah.
On the one hand, hey, more Star Wars stuff, yay! And they're clearing up the continuity by saying, no, okay, this stuff doesn't matter, and this stuff was kind of stupid, so none of it counts.
Oh, so no midichlorians?
No, sadly, midichlorians is still in there. Nobody likes to mention them.
Oh, okay.
But, it's like what's in the movies is basically, that's about it for canon, unless we say otherwise.
Oh, well, that's okay, because I used to
like some of the
have
stuff
a lot of the books, and I really enjoyed that sort of expanded universe stuff, but I suppose it can be a little restrictive in telling the stories. I mean, I don't know, maybe.
The more books you read, the more they conflict with each other, sort of thing. So what you liked may be completely not allowable according to another series because reasons, or because this person was doing something else at that point and they couldn't be at two places at once.
Yeah, and I guess we have this thing with, especially, I guess, with fan fiction and stuff, we have this thing where there's people who read material, and there's a different subclass of people who write and are the creative people. And sometimes the creative writers people don't necessarily enjoy being the archivists and the background note takers.
I just want to tell a good story involving the Force, man. That's all.
Well, I mean, because George Lucas had that freedom because he wrote a script and he was able to completely change it as he developed it and turn it into something
really
very
can't
different.
Make this work. What if instead of being a 7-foot-tall person, Yoda's small and green and sounds a lot like Grover from Sesame Street? Could we make that work?
So they shrunk Yoda. And they shrunk the Wookiees into Ewoks.
That's basically what it is. It's
basically a whole lot of shrinking going on.
There's some people that will say that Yoda is just like a really ancient Wookiee. They get smaller as they get older, and he lost all his hair.
Oh yeah, cool.
I think the official story is he's from that part of the galaxy that they don't have much travel lanes, like. Hyperspace lanes in their universe are kind of like roads. You can't just go A to B anywhere. You got to hook yourself up into like a proper subspace channel to go there.
Yeah.
Which is why you can have trade routes,
Yeah.
So on certain planets.
Yeah.
And so there's like one section of the galaxy where there's like not really any stuff. You kind of have to go the long, slow way to get there.
Yeah, I always thought sort of Tatooine was supposed to be that kind of.
No, Tatooine just kind of sucks because there's nothing worthwhile there. It's the small town of the galaxy.
Okay, but it's not like it's hard to get there. Well, not hard.
It's not that far off of the trade routes from what I've seen, but it's like, why would you want to? What is there?
Right.
Although it still boggles my mind, you can have huge ships moving around, but nobody decides to try and import water to the place that really could use a lot of water. There are entire water planets out there, man. Just, suck that stuff up, purify it, go back up into space, and sell that onto the desert.
I wouldn't suck it off a planet, but I would harvest some comets, maybe. Comets are
But the thing is, comets
water.
are moving. The planet is relatively stable and stationary. Once you get onto the surface of a planet, it's like, dude, atmosphere is protecting me. I don't have to worry about cosmic debris or anything like that. Just toss a hose down on the side of your ship and start sucking water out.
I guess.
Put the filter on and you're getting fish. We're not paying them extra
in
for
the
fish.
Star Wars universe, it doesn't actually seem to cost that much in fuel to get off a planet. In our universe, it's very expensive to get off from the surface of Earth anywhere else in the solar system.
They're in a state of technological apostasy, but they really do have a decent level of technology, so they can get up without having to spend a lot of cash.
Yeah. All right.
So,
we didn't introduce ourselves.
That's right.
My name is Joshua Levin.
I'm Ryan Kirkby. I guess I'm the archivist here, is helping relate the information of the Star Wars universe. Despite the fact that I actually haven't read any of the extra books. I've read the Wikipedia very extensively as I can.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have several of the role-playing stuff to help me out.
Well, it's been years, maybe 20 years.
Decades, then.
Since I read Star Wars novels. Not quite 20 years, but I was a teenager when I read them. And I read a whole lot. I read probably, I had a collection of, maybe I had 30 of them.
That's pretty good. I've been told the Marvel era for the comics was very well received.
I had some of the comics too. Yeah, those were, I really liked them.
I think I read one of those at the local library. Someone donated it. I got a chance to read it. But aside from good quality artwork, I can't tell you anything about the story.
I can't. That's the thing I was getting to. I can't remember any of the stories.
But it's a different visual format, just something you can read and enjoy. That was classic, like comic book reading, sort of thing. What was the story? I don't know. It looked good and it told a story. I was entertained.
But yeah, it does seem a little bit like wrong to throw out the books, which a lot of people liked, in favor of keeping the prequel movies, the prequel films, which a lot of people didn't like. It seems like if you were going to keep one set of stories, I would keep the...
Well, the amount of people that have read the book versus the amount of people that have seen the movie means the movies are more widespread. You almost have to keep them as canon. Even the Ewoks, spin-off movie would be considered, I believe, canon.
Well, I mean, I suppose, that's an argument of people getting it and understanding it, although,
well, it's the same argument for what happened with the New 52 and Starfire.
Okay.
She was very poorly received in the New 52 as being vapid and basically just there for the titillation of the male characters and their egos.
Okay.
I suppose she grew as a character into someone who could appreciate humanity. Otherwise, she just didn't care. And, a good comic sale will get maybe 20,000 readers. This is considered a very successful, issue for 20,000 purchases.
Mm-hmm.
But the Starfire that appeared in the Teen Titans cartoons was seen by millions of viewers. And so a lot of people said DC was rather stupid for trying to have the comic official Starfire be different from the cartoon one, when the cartoon one was very positively received and seen by more people.
Yeah, like my criteria to go by would be which character is better, which is more compelling or
the one that wears the heart on her sleeve and cares for people as opposed to not caring whatsoever and using sexual activity as a pastime because she's bored.
Yeah, which is the one they went with in the...
That's how they made her in the New 52 universe.
Yeah. So,
Whee!
Is that just bad choices? Yeah, I guess it's just
that's
all
the thing.
It is. Bad writing.
If they had put
choices.
out just a thing saying this is how she starts and her story will gain more she'll change as a person as she learns to discover that humanity is more substantial than she initially realizes. They're not just idle pastime or toys or something. They have more meaning. She learns to, appreciate that. And just bear with us as we tell the freaking story already, you dang fanboys. If they had published that, I would have been much happier. But they just I don't care. If it's not selling, we'll just cancel it along with the other stuff that's not selling. And that, the non-rapport with the fan base is what got me against DC on that issue, sort of thing. So, Oh, well. That's how it
Okay.
goes.
Well, enough of the introductory banter, although I hope you enjoyed that, listeners.
Yeah, what have you been up to this week, Josh? Yeah.
What have I... not a lot of... no video games, actually. Surprisingly. I guess I've just been busy with other stuff. But I watched a couple of movies. I watched The Croods.
Yes. Good movie, bad movie?
A caveman cartoon.
Was it really that derivative of the Flintstone stuff?
No, I wouldn't say it's not at all.
Okay. Because that's how I heard a lot of people referring it to. It's like, what is The Croods? It's like, it's the Flintstones for a new generation, effectively.
It is a prehistoric family, so they got that part. They have, fantastical pets. I'm not sure if any
Were
of
there
the
a lot
ones...
of dinosaurs in there?
Yeah, no, there were. I mean, the creatures in that movie are amazing. I mean, I would if I was rating the movie just on the creatures, I would give it 13 stars, 13 dwarves out of 13.
Okay, good.
The creatures and the art and the landscapes and the what do you call it? The sets, I guess, because it's a cartoon, but it's it's.
Well, that's how cartoons are going
very
these
elaborate.
days, especially when it's a CGI. Just the beautiful scenery going on, just absolutely break your heart. Beautiful.
Yeah. So and there's also some very interesting biological stuff. There's these sort of carnivorous plants that go to attack the family.
So it's kind of a land of the lost sort of thing, as opposed to proper historical. Okay.
Yep. And so the plants are snapping at them reaching down oh, I'm gonna get you. And then there's this little. They're backing off. They're oh, what are we going to do? They're sort of hiding away from it a little bit.
So wait, would this actually be considered to be like a fictitious land of the lost sort of world going on, or is there indications that this is actually this is what used to happen back before humanity recorded anything?
It's just a cartoon. It's just basically a fantasy world. It's very little to do with sort of.
Because I'm thinking back to some of the
times.
old 50s movies, where they have the land of the lost, where it's there is a crevice that goes down several kilometers in Antarctica, and so what starts off as the snowy cap, thanks to geological processes involving molten fissures, you go down this several kilometer ravine, and it's a tropical setting, and because it's warm enough, the extinctions never happened there, and so dinosaurs still roam. And they had stuff like carnivorous plants that grab onto people and that sort of thing. So is there any indication it might be in some sort of crevasse in Antarctica happening right now? Or did it definitely imply this is the entire world? There's no wall of Earth?
Let me see. I would estimate that the action of the entire film takes place in... You could fit it in probably...
A mountain valley?
Well, because...
A long mountain valley.
You could fit it in a 50 mile by 50 mile square. I guess that's...
So, very much, within a...
2,500 square miles.
A decent valley sort of thing.
But yeah, it's not... I mean, it doesn't... There's no way to tell if it's global or not. But it
so
appears,
a person could have a fan theory that this is it's not actually, prehistoric man. They are just survivors, and they're existing in, the Antarctic crevasse.
Yeah, well, one of the things that happens is it seems very volcanic. The sort of the thing that's because the world is supposed to end and they have to escape from whatever's happening and whatever.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoilers.
No, not really much of a spoiler. It's kind of just a plot synopsis.
It just sort of happens, yeah. But one of the things that happens is there is a lot of volcano-y stuff. So if that were to happen somewhere on Earth, you would see the plume, everyone would know about it because sort of, the volcano in Iceland or whatever blocks half of Northern Europe or whatever.
Oh yeah, every time they get a new volcanic eruption up there, nobody can fly for about a week in all of Europe. Yeah,
and the little ice age back in the 1500s was based on a volcano in Indonesia or something.
Yeah, that'd be Krakatoa going up, wouldn't it? No, that'd be the other one.
Was that 1800s?
No, Krakatoa is, I think.
The little ice age?
But no, in which case the argument they have in the old things about why no one sees it is because of the several kilometers with the temperature inversion, the smoke plumes don't go up high enough. They hit a critical inversion layer, and so they wind up to somebody flying over top. It looks like cloud is kind of off-white. The snow and all the rock is kind of off-white around it, and so it's camouflaged. You don't see the crevasse because of what's going on there.
Yeah, at some point. Okay, all right. Well,
so you could have an interesting fan
it.
theory that it's like a land of the lost situation and not prehistoria.
Yeah.
Okay, I can dig it. I kind of want to watch it a little bit more now and to see if I can definitively prove one way or another.
It has.
That's how I have fun in movies.
Yeah, and it has these little like pieces of sort of evolutionary like fantasy, like this could happen because. Like I was saying, they're hiding from the carnivorous flowers, and then an animal hops in, like it's a little rabbit or something, hops into the flowers, and then its head like poofs out into like a fake flower. Oh. Like it's an animal with a like fish and sometimes have like they camouflage.
Or like those
or birds,
those reptiles with the frills.
Yeah, something like that. So it hops in there and it poofs up a flower, and then the carnivorous plants are like, oh, that's just another flower. I'm not going to eat it. They don't actually talk, but they just sort of back off from it. And
I love them for meat. I'm not a vegetarian, which is kind of cannibalistic when you're a plant yourself. Weird.
Yeah. Well, no, because that's plants should not want to eat other plants.
Except you have entire species of plants that, I will grow on top of this tree and send tendrils around until I constrict the tree, and a tree dies, and, I'm just like a gravestone left around it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that happens, yeah.
Yeah, that happens, and it's really creepy, and it creates its own little pools of water, and you get little microbiomes going on in there. Weird, fun stuff down in those tropics.
Yeah, and
crazy and dangerous.
So the humans are like, oh, well, we can use that, and the humans grab some flower parts and stick them over their heads and sort of hide, and that's how they sneak through. So there's these little sort of ideas borrowed from evolution, and it's kind of interesting that way.
Yes, I have a nice book called After Man, which utilizes similar principles to create various wonderful fictitious creatures.
Yeah. So 13 out of 13 for the visuals. The story, I wasn't crazy about. It's your standard. I guess, there's nothing really wrong with it, but it's just, we work together as a family, and there's an outsider who's not part of the family, but he likes the girl, so there's a boy meets girl aspect to it, which is kind of fun, and they're friends, and they fight at some point, and then they get back together. There's a lot of bonking on the head kind of caveman activity.
Some decent physical humor.
Yeah.
It's for the good kids. Kids like a good skull bonk.
Yeah.
Trust me, my daughter has proven that to me. She loves to bonk me with a fake little Thor hammer I got.
Yeah, but I can't imagine how any real human would survive a lot of the things that they go through, but...
Well, if they're like Neanderthal sort of thing, there was some interesting brow ridge and thicker skull plate areas going on.
Yeah, they could withstand a slightly heavier hit.
Yeah, but that's it's very subjective. You're still going to wind up with
if you fall off a 500-foot cliff, granted you do fall into some moss, but...
No, the best you're hoping for is a concussion.
I would think, yeah.
That's wishful thinking.
Okay. So, I give this story, I don't know, an 8 out of 13 dwarves.
So that subtracts down to an averaging of 3/4 of 13?
Average to, 10 and a third dwarves.
Ew, that's kind of gory. You might want to make it rounded to an even 12
round it to 10. 11. I enjoyed it. I think it's worth watching. Another film I watched was less entertaining.
Less humorously entertaining?
It's a different category of film. Was 12 Years a Slave.
All film should technically be entertaining. If it's educationally entertaining, visually entertaining, or it tells a deep, meaningful, moving story, entertaining sort of thing.
Yeah. So
12 Years a Slave.
The other movie I watched was 12 Years a Slave, and it's a story about a guy who, a black guy from the North United States, who gets kidnapped while slavery is still legal in the South, and he gets kidnapped illegally and taken down to the South to work on a plantation and stuff. And I think this is not a spoiler, but he makes it. A lot of people along with him die or get,
I've been told there was a high mortality rate and that sort of thing.
But the main character does eventually get back home and, happily ever after. Back
Let's
home
give him an Oscar. That sounded great.
Well, the movie, it was very good. It was very well acted, and it earned a lot of awards, and it was definitely a well put together movie. It was educational and historical. So I mean, I'd have to give it 13 out of 13 dwarves.
But it just didn't make you laugh quite.
It's kind of a downer. Well, downer. How else do you put it? It's very hard to watch some of those scenes. It's very, because people are like getting hurt, and it's not. And
knowing
fun.
that it was something that really did happen.
And that's also true. It's
pretty certain the Croods never actually happened.
Yeah. So those are that was my week in simulations. Just
testing both ends of the fictional video genre.
Yeah, sure. And they're both kind of have things to messages to.
And what always strikes me is that when it comes down to awards time, like the best motion picture of the year, like how do you even compare those two movies? That'd be like saying, like which would you rather prefer, butter or an apple? Yeah. any chance you're going to have one, chances are the other is not even going to really apply.
I almost thought which would you rather have, an apple or an orange? Apples and oranges. It's like comparing apples and oranges.
They both make great snacks together, though, so you can really compare apples and oranges on several things. But, like, an apple is something you eat usually, or an ingredient, but butter is like such a primal ingredient. Nobody just had, I'm kind of hungry. I think I'll just have a nice little slick of butter here. I might hit the spot. No, it's so much an ingredient you don't even see it as like an option for that. But apples, like, do I want to put apples in the stuffing when I'm making up stuff here, or should I save it for side? Do I want to put it in my dessert? Do I want to, because it is an ingredient, but it's not perceived in the same way. So I think apples versus butter is a much better. You can't compare than apples and oranges. And yet they're still edible things. So it's like, you can put them in the same sort of categories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my new thing. It's no longer apples and oranges. It's apple and margarine.
Okay.
There you go.
So how about you? What have you been up to? Simulation?
I have gotten so deep into the world of Modcraft.
So
Minecraft mods.
You've been downloading and experimenting with the...
experimenting, and very thoroughly researching. Because I realize... like if I want to add more ore into the game, there's a lot of mods that are going to add something like tin. But the more mods I download, the more likely there's going to be two different kinds of tin, and then I'm going to interact into some very harsh trouble where, I want tin A, not tin B, and if I have this mod down, then the tin that I had from the previous mod just doesn't work, and there's confliction. So I got to work this on a tactical scale. So I want something with more minerals, I got to work this way. And if I want something else, it can't conflict. So I want to try and get as much as possible without any real overlap.
Yeah. Have you got into any like actual mod collections that do it for you?
Mod packs?
Yeah, like a mod pack.
I was thinking about the MoonQuest mod pack, the one that tries to get all the stuff that they had in the MoonQuest series, which is what I originally started getting on these downloads. It's the Yogscast stuff. Several million people have viewed it on YouTube. If you're into watching Let's Play and three witty British people faffing around for about half the time, at least half the time, it's more likely about 2/3 to 3/4 of the time they wind up getting nothing done or losing progress. Mm-hmm. That's kind of Minecraft though in a nutshell sometimes, isn't it? But they had a lot of good mods, and I'm looking at like the Tree Capitator. I'm thinking, I need this mod so badly. I need Tree Capitator. So it's like, okay, I got to get the Forge sort of thing, and I get this Forge is so nice and easy to set up, and it makes things so much easier. I'm so happy they've got it.
Yeah.
So I get that, and then I see them go into other worlds, like with like Myst. So it's Mystcraft is the name of that mod, and I'm like, yes, this appeals to me. I have an issue with where I start in the regular world. Like where I start is usually where I am, and if something happens, like, oh no, my bed got blown up, and I was like at latitude, like 1,000, longitude 2,000, and also, there goes my thing, I'm dead, and now I have to do a 3-day trek to get back to where I used to be. It winds up being in a sort of situation whereby if you don't start kind of where you want to be, then you're never going to be anywhere except where you start.
It's kind of like in real life.
Well, that's the thing. In real life, you can move, and if you get setbacks or thing, it's not like, oh, what do you mean I respawned back in Canada? I was living in Germany.
Well, I guess in real life you don't respawn after you die.
No, but in this case, I think it would be like related to like a setback sort of thing. It's like, I lost my job. I'm gonna wake up in Canada tomorrow again. Oh, No, that's not how it works, sort of thing. Like, where you are is where you stay. No matter how hard you get hit, with life coming at you, you're going to usually stay where you are unless you get deported or something.
Okay.
And so the Mystcraft appeals to me because it's like, what if I don't want to live in a world that's kind of like a version of like the real world? What if I want to like you can create a world that's like a void world. It has nothing. There's no base group or anything like that. And then you could just go with Nether Fortress, and just overlap the amount of Nether Fortress until you spawn in that world, and it's just like one eternal Nether complex existence sitting in the middle of nowhere.
Neat.
And it's like, yes, that's the hell I prefer to go to. I don't really want to go to, the Nether. I prefer this version of a bad reality.
Yeah.
Or what if you prefer something like the Nether, but you don't want to have to be in an underground area? You could spawn a world that's, you go desert, hell biomes, Nether stuff, and that sort of thing, and then you can make it it's not completely bad. If I'm, not in the horrible parts of it in the lava seas, I can just go to the desert area where it's only kind of horrible. Or the first thing I was looking at when I was looking at the syntax is I can have multiple suns. I could have it so that every half day another sun sets and another sun rises. So there's always one sun about to set, one sun about to rise, and one sun in the sky. Never have to worry about the undead. Or I could just have a stationary sun in the sky. So it's I can craft the world as I prefer. Or as circumstances permit. If you don't have all the pages, you can't do the right thing, and then you gotta cross your fingers, hope for the best. And those of you who have watched the MoonQuest series, it's oh, look at this, it's wonderful, it's snowing like Christmas. Oh, what the heck is that? As giant meteors start falling from the sky, and everyone starts, I'm on fire, why am I on fire? It's snowing, I shouldn't be on fire. And they're yelling. Oh, God, that was a beautiful episode. Just hilarious to watch. I watched that one twice just to see it happen again. It's I see more falling from the sky. What's going on here? I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. So, yeah, if you don't have all the pages, you might run the risk. And I've tried some interesting things since I got it installed. And it's tried a little safe scumming, because always back up your worlds before you start trying to play a mod with them. Something might go wrong. You might not have all the pieces. It might not mesh properly. Maybe you downloaded the wrong version. You downloaded the 1.62 version of Minecraft's mod instead of the 1.7.10. So yeah, back up your world just in case you don't lose all your progress, or just start fresh on a world, I suppose. But I tried it, and there were some worlds where being under the sky made me burst into flames. There was a world of eternal storm, and the rain was acidic poison rain. And then there was one area where the very air was deadly to me. I had just enough time to properly put down the book and read it to get back to the regular world before I died of poison. So there's some interesting adventure area in there. It's I'm going to go to as many villages as I can to loot as many pages and see how much I can trade with the new villager that comes up. And so I was enjoying that. I like the fine-tuning. I want it just this way. Tweak it. I don't want to have to deal with caves when I'm doing my digging, when I'm making my quarry. Tweak it so I don't have to deal with caves. And so I dug that. Now I'm looking at more stuff. I've got a list of about a half dozen more mods I want to consider adding on top of the technically 9 right now I've got in there. And it's just I'm worried, Josh. For 2 reasons. One, where does it end? How much can I add before it starts overlapping? And one can say, no, I think I got the best of everything. I'm done. That's it. No more mods for me.
Yeah.
And aside from very minimal mods, something that adds just this one little thing or changes just this little thing. How many more substantial mods can I really add in before it's too much? That's it. I'm done. Anything else, and they start conflicting and they start crashing down like a bad game of Jenga.
Yeah.
And I got the Tinker's mod sort of thing. It allows me to really get a weapon I want. No random chance with your dang magic. And all that sort of thing. So if I want it, I can make it just as I want. I can tweak it and all that. But they also have a smell tree, which I have been told villagers, if you toss a villager somehow in there, instead of bleeding blood, they bleed liquid like gems, like the emerald, which is apparently how you get emerald. That's their blood. They're picking off scabs. Yeah. Hey, you want this? Yeah. There you go. Give me some wheat and I'll give you my scab. There, buddy.
Oh, okay.
And here we thought it was like some sort of a nostril crystal. That's why they have big noses. But those who have listened to some of the previous iterations, when I had peasants where I didn't want them in the underground of my city, I let them die. I set up a situation whereby monsters would spawn and kill them all. And that was kind of a dark moment for me. But now it's like, ooh, the villagers I don't want, I can potentially, just like carve a hole in a street and push them down into a smeltery, whereupon they will provide for me emeralds, which I can trade for things I do want. And I've got so many golems, I could move the golems in there too, and I could possibly get iron out of them. Oh my, the things I could do, the things I could have. I wouldn't have to worry about limited iron or coming up with a complex, elaborate death trap for golems. I could just shove them into the hole. So it's like I am going to just do some testing, save my game, do some, does this work this way? How does it work? Can I make this happen as I want? By this time on the next iteration, I may be on the enemies of sentience list. I may be doing some very dark things for testing. So, and I'm a little worried about how far I'll sink. But I'm saving the game, so technically I can undo my action.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm going to have to do something, because right now I've in my city up above me, I've got 220 people. And when they all collect near the center together, it's causing some very bad lag issues, and I can't hear things. No sound bite gets through except for that of a villager and the slamming of a door.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be building any more levels on my city. Once I get done with the second story, that is it. That is over with for their numbers, and I may have to trim the numbers down a little bit because there's a lot of villagers who are some of those trades are just completely not fair. Like, you give me 5 diamonds and I will give you 1 emerald. I'm like, dude, I can get 1 emerald for 24 wheat, and you're asking for 5 diamonds? If it didn't reduce my reputation, I would hit you for that. So, on the other hand, one of the mods I am looking at is the Millionaire mod, where they make villagers different and more interesting.
Yes.
Maybe I'll be less willing to throw them into a smeltery if I find every villager is a little bit more interesting. I'll have to think about it and consider it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you my experience with Millionaire is that it is. It feels like a different game almost, because it's almost like a questing game. Because you sort of quest to help out the villagers.
But that's something to do, and maybe the bigger flaw in Minecraft is that there's kind of something to do. Yeah, get yourself to the nether, get this sort of stuff, go to the end, kill the dragon, loot its egg, and that's about it.
Yeah. And now there's water temples to find.
Yeah. But there's a couple loose
and the wither to kill.
Yeah.
So there's this and that, and there's
a few things to go for, but nothing like
the Mushroom Island to find.
Well, that's the thing. When my second world, the second age I created with Mystcraft, about 1/4 of the terrain is mushroom biome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, now I remember monsters can't spawn in mushroom biomes. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed they can spawn in mushroom biomes.
They can.
Despite what it says on the Mystcraft wiki, the low light setting does apparently permit the undead to walk the daytime without catching on fire. I have seen many skeletons and many zombies walking around in the daylight in my second age, completely heedless of any danger from the sun. Which is interesting, because what with the fog that's kind of in there, it's almost just a little bit like having that the one the Twilight Forest mod, but without actually having to go back to the 1.6 edition of Minecraft to do it.
Right.
And so it's a nice atmosphere. It's very quiet there. There's no villagers. Occasionally there's a zombie coming at me. Doesn't matter if it's daytime or nighttime. It'll come after me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's got a very stark nature to it, and it's a very, very tranquil. It's like, okay, my daughter's gone to sleep. My wife's, watching her shows. I put my headphones on, and I will just play some slow classical music as I venture out into this different world.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, no, the undead spawn there just as well. There might be an issue with the tiled world setting, though, because I do notice a lot of the giant mushroom trees that grow are not actually on the mushroom biome.
Like, they're not centered on it? Or?
No, they're on the savanna lands or on the jagged hill edge biome that I've got there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a slightly different set of rules there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the reasons I like it. It's good. It's entertaining. And it makes me want to go out and do stuff. It's like, I want to explore, because in every new world you create, there's one little temple where you can find a lot more pages. More pages you get, the more interesting, more detailed you can try and make your next world.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it's more of that, trying to find a new thing to do,
Which, I mean, I learned a lesson on that one, because it's like, okay, it's a tiled biome. All I got to do is, like, head in this one direction, and, for, like, a certain thing, like, 15 biomes over, then I'll do a stack of dirt up and take a look around. If I can't see it, then I'll progress, like, in a grid-type fashion. I'm on a grid. How hard is it to get lost? Mm-hmm. And, yay, I find the thing, it's down to the southeast of my spawn-in point there. And it's like, yes, I loot it. And then I leave. And it's like, okay, the sun is setting this way, so that means I go this way. And then, oh, no. No, the sun doesn't set in the west. The sun sets in the southwest. I've been going the wrong direction. And so I have to spend the entire night up on a stack of ground just to make sure I don't have to fight enemies all night long.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm trying to figure out. So now, when I go into a new world, anytime I test things out, anytime I'm adventuring now, I have a compass with me. The compass is a very valuable thing for me now. It means something to me.
Yep.
I've become a better explorer because of that one situation. Although I did find my way home the next day. I had to calculate out which direction I went the wrong way and which direction I need to go, and bam, I found it. All I needed was a few more hours, I guess technically 3-4 more minutes of sunlight in real world time, and I would have been able to make it home. But I didn't. I flubbed it the first time, so But I learned, so hooray! I became a smarter person and a better adventurer.
Cool.
So yeah, that's been my week, is learning from the mistakes of myself and others in Minecraft, and going deep down the rabbit hole of mods.
Okay, well, I think there's further for you to go, so...
Well, that's the thing. I want to make sure I only get the best and only get the stuff that suits me, the stuff that suits my personality. So I got to ask myself, what kind of person am I? What kind of mod works well for me? And I find I'm liking both the elegant simplicity of some mods, along with mods that are very intricate, like a little hard to learn, but the payoff is worth it for those who like getting exactly what they want, and just getting it just so, that perfectionist nature. So I guess I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
Okay.
And I know more about myself that way because I've seen which mods appeal to me.
Yeah.
I'm intelligently, determining what criteria I'm using to judge my mods and use that for future mod searches. That said, like I said, I'm watching the Mystcraft stuff, and I'm seeing stuff like, I've had that problem too. I can't see underwater very far, so they say, we're going to need the clear water mod. Oh, okay, look that up, in clear water. Oh, that looks very nice. I could have a lot of fun, adventuring underwater now. So, I'm going to have to look at some aquatic type mods. Especially now that the temples are, out for the 1.8 sort of thing, I might do a different profile. I might have to do some mod differential stuff. Like, I want to play a map where I just explore the water on 1.81.
Yeah.
Which means I need to move. And that's one of the things I don't like about Minecraft is you can't select what mods are being used for what game worlds.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of a good feature to have.
It would be good. I'm hoping Microsoft / Mojang is working on it now, realizing the huge retention factor they have for people that would like the things that way. Like, I want to see what's up with the latest mod. Oh, but I'm still at 1.7.10 with all my mods. I can't start the game without moving all my mods off. And it's not hard. You got yourself Forge.
Yeah.
You just, take the file mods, copy it, put it in another folder, safekeeping folder, and then delete their mods file. You can come back to it later when you want to go back to your old worlds.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been my week.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes. But we did have a topic in one of our previous iterations I think we're going to come back to and talk about this week.
We
mentioned it. I think it was the last week sort of thing. Is like the concept of being like the last of your kind.
Yeah, the last or the only or
the first of your kind, the alpha of your species versus the omega.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we're going to be pairing them together, but in my mind, they're very, very much different things.
Okay.
Maybe it's because of what I've read and how it seems to be. Like I've read stories where it's like, and then one for the old Dungeon Quest series way back on like the Atari 2GS, way back in the day. The story is like one day the ice is melt and everybody comes out, the High Lords of Order, the gods, the chaos beings, men, elves, dwarves, and all the others. They come out of the primal ice. And so you could be like one of the first of your kind. Not yet the only of your kind, but one of the first. There's no one before you.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so you come out of ice.
Well, it was kind of like a Nordic sort of thing, where things get thawed out. And what was there before, what put them there, no one knows. It's the mystery of the creation story.
Okay.
Compared to stuff like DC Comics, where you're the last of your kind. Superman being the biggest and most notable example. He is the last Kryptonian. That's one of his titles,
oh, yes.
The Last Kryptonian. That said, Lobo is also like the last Sarinian. The difference being that Superman just happened to be the last due to circumstances of having a smart father that could predict an apocalypse. Lobo killed the rest of his planet for a high school project, gave himself an A. It turns out in the DC thing, you kill every other member of your species. You're like the last of your kind. You get extra powerful, sort of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird sort of thing. I mean, not all Styrenians were like him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, visually they kind of were, I suppose, but he still had kind of a biker motif. And it was just, you're the last of your kind. You get like all the powers of your people, I suppose, is a way of thinking about it. It's never been officially stated, but it is a theme they work with.
Mm-hmm.
They do also have some other weird things going on with different species, but you got to go to Thanagar or Ran or they're the same planet now, Ranagar, for the whole thing. To see what the differences work out with nobility versus commoners. There's an interesting theme going on there, but we're not talking about that theme. We're talking about the first and the last.
Yeah, well, that is interesting though that should connect because is it a boring story if you're just the last of your kind and just you're some dude, like just some, maybe you're the last of a certain like branch or last of a house, but there might still be humanity out there, so you're not that special.
I am the last of the House of Usher. Just me, my sister, and the house itself, which has housed us for many generations. Yeah, that's probably not actual lyrics for actual lines from the whole thing, but yeah, the House of Usher tells an interesting of the end of a lineage, which works well. Plus, there's a chance to read like an Edgar Allan Poe horror story. Give it a read, man. Now, when you're done, just find. I bet you it's on LibriVox as a free recording. So,
yeah, probably.
And you know what's best about LibriVox recordings? They're all in the OGG format, so you can go into the Minecraft stuff and find the songs that they have, and that's all in OGG format, and then just toss a bunch of books, right on them. Just toss that in there, and then you're playing the Minecraft, and instead of one of their weird little lonely songs playing, it's like, and then I start learning about the House of Usher being told right now. So, if you like that sort of thing, I mean, that's an interesting way to mix up your reading and get your playtime on, too.
Well, I could, in theory, I could encode these podcasts as OGG files.
On the other hand, it's not that hard to just, press, play over on the, the YouTube site and then Alt-Tab over to Minecraft. But if you ever want a randomized thing, go hit the LibriVox stuff up, get your OGG formats, toss them in the right save file, and bam, it plays itself randomly for you.
Yeah, but that does seem to be a common theme with when you get like fantasy stories or science fiction stories about the last of something. There does seem to be writers gravitate towards making that last exemplar rather powerful or very special in some way, or have a special, unique power.
For some, it's like, there's a reason why I'm the last of my kind. I'm too tough to die.
Yeah, there's that.
That's it. I mean, there are some that are like supposed to be unique.
I guess it also explains like why we have a world where magic isn't everywhere is because all the magic died, and maybe there's only one magic person.
Or yeah, as they told in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, for those who actually remember it, didn't black it out. Magic is tied to dragons, and dragons are tied to magic. You kill enough dragons, you will deplete magic from the world.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of why you shouldn't use two, like rods of dragon control against each other. You're going to wind up sapping the world of magic levels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, personally, I wouldn't mourn magic too much. I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool to have magic, but we have technology, so I kind of prefer technology.
Well, we're on the okay end of it. You go to like a D&D world, and humanity and the various other, like demi-humanities need magic because there are a lot of creatures out there. Even without magical abilities, just the amount of hit die they have compared to you means they will trample entire cities without any chance of being stopped.
Are they? Well, I mean, depends on the world, but are they really that common?
They don't need to be common because when you got that
one to ask.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like there's some nicely told stories about in the Forgotten Realms. I'm not one to extol Forgotten Realms' virtues, especially with their stories, but there's one or two stories where like it shows the realistic effects in a D&D styled world where one demon versus an entire city. Mm-hmm. And it winds up being that like the demon with their abilities means like you get a decent hit die demon enough with its abilities, and there's no way even a larger sized city can stop it. If it wants to kill everyone in that city, the only way you can not get killed is to not be in that city.
Well, when you're talking about what's the I can never remember, Balor or Pit Fiend, which is the demon side.
Go demon side for the it would be
Balor.
the Balor.
Is Balor
the Pit Fiend is part of the process they use in the Nine Hells for promotions.
Okay. So is it a Balor? Is that what we're talking about?
Balor is the chaotic evil, yes.
But okay, so when you said like one demon versus a city, are we talking that level of power, or are you thinking
if
of
you
more
get a
like
high enough power demon, then yeah, it's effectively just like the city's a write-off. If you don't have something high enough level to counteract it, there's nothing. Your 1 in 20 chance doesn't mean anything when it's got damage resistance 15. It doesn't matter how many archers you got shooting at it per round. They can't deal enough damage to actually hurt it.
Yeah, you need some kind of magic.
And then it has stuff, like, oh yeah, meteor swarm. Boom. There go those archers. There goes the mage district. You're gone.
Yeah.
Boy, it's a good thing they only had 4 hit die per level. Otherwise, they might have survived an attack like that. By the way, yeah, look, do more researching for spells that give you more temporary hit points, wizards. You need that. Shore up your weaknesses. Come on. You're supposed to be the smart ones. Use your intelligence score.
No, I'm not sure.
Intelligence score modifier in 3rd edition adds a hit point bonus. Yeah, you could have like a feat whereby you have intelligence modifier gains the bonus hit points instead of constitution as some sort of like magical reinforcement, like you've gone through a ritual. Your physical body no longer determines your hardiness. It's your mental state that determines how long you keep going before you collapse.
Okay, something like that.
You can work it with a wisdom, too, for stuff like monks and all that. It's like, I know the secret of not dying. It's taking this feat at first level.
I don't, well, I mean, I'd have to see the feat actually written out. I probably wouldn't allow something like that. Just maybe as a prestige class, because that's a little bit more specialized.
Okay, I'll meet you on that. Maybe not a feat, but a 5-level prestige class. It doesn't have to be the full 10, just a small one.
Yeah, it
3
could
to 5
be
levels.
Like hardy mage or something, or battle mage, kind of almost, but not.
I call it beef mage, but I'm really bad at names, so it's probably not going to stick.
Minotaur mage.
Okay, let's see if I can find a proper name for it. Let's go with combat magus.
Okay.
Does that sound right? Yeah, someone's got to survive on the battlefield.
Yeah, and I mean there are other variations on sort of that archetype, but yeah, that you could have one version of that.
Give it a special feature whereby you can convert a spell into a raw, blast energy sort of thing. 1 die 6 per spell level converted. That wouldn't be too bad a prestige class. Not for everybody sort of thing, but it's nice. It's like, I memorize all these utility spells, but oh no, I'm fighting monsters. I'll blow this spell out and just raw magical blast energy. Mm-hmm. Okay, but yeah, that's an interesting take.
Okay, yes, side note.
But then, you could look at the other comics sort of thing, where you've got the mutants in Marvel, and for a lot of them, it's almost as though they are the beginning of their own species.
Yeah, the beginning of a new thing, a new
although it's
humanity.
Weird, when you look at different, like the lineages of stuff, is like it's rather weird because Magneto is the master of magnetism. He's got 3 kids. One is like Polaris, and she's got magnetism abilities, and that's, for the longest time, that was the only time you'd have 2 mutants of similar powers that weren't connected. And it's they're actually related. And then you've got, the Scarlet Witch sort of thing, and she's got, she's a little weird, because 1, she's got magic, 2, she's got mutant abilities, but her mutant ability is like a magical hex power, so it's, kind of confusing. But his one son is Pietro, better known as Quicksilver, and he's a super speedster. So it's like how does that connect on a gene-based thing? And things, mutations are kind of random, so it doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah.
But then you look at Wolverine, and his lineage is he's got his genetic, technical kind of daughter is kind of like a clone daughter sort of thing. With X-23, and so she's got the claws and she's got the feral abilities. And then you look at his son Daken, and he's got the claws and he's got the thing like that. And you look at the various future stories where Wolverine's got other descendants, and they're kind of the same thing. And so it's very much a closeness with him. And they wound up having to create a story whereby it's like, he comes from a lineage of non-humanoid things where they were supposed to be like sentient wolf type people, but then this,
cool.
Then the cosmic things that come down and tamper with everything, they come down and tamper, and they said, what these wolf things, forget them. We're going to make apes the dominant intelligent species on the planet.
Yeah.
So that's how they kind of explain his closeness. Otherwise, there's some themes between families, but it's not the same sort of thing. So everyone's kind of unique. In D&D perspective, they would be a very good candidate for a chaotic race.
Okay. Yeah, the mutants.
The Limbo Born. Does that sound like a decent race sort of thing? Where each one's unique, you got to roll on a power sort of thing.
Well, they have sort of like that. They had Chaons, is a plain touch chaos sort of humanoid. They also had mongrel folk, which have gone through a couple of different versions, but in some of the versions you rolled randomly for traits. And there's another version that it's just, they're just sort of a mix. They're in the middle. They're an average, I guess.
They're what happens when you try to put half elf, half dwarf, half orc, all together sort of thing. To get the best, you wind up with mongrel folks. Knock that.
Which I think, I feel like that's more realistic. I know hybridization in real life can have some weird things, like just randomly, for some reason, the hybrid between 2 medium-sized creatures is just giant, and then just for some reason that gene just didn't get turned off.
You can learn an interesting amount from that while looking at plants and how things go a little weird. But they also have the auto-fertilization, so they're a species that's never truly alone. All they need is like a bee to fertilize themselves, and all of a sudden, that doubled up chromosome you have, not necessarily preventing you from really having kids. You're the only one of your kind, but you self-fertilize. Doesn't happen an awful lot in D&D. I don't know why, but most of them have gender-based things.
Yeah, because D&D sort of is based off humans in some way.
But it doesn't need to be. I mean, you could really have a species that's a sequential hermaphroditic, flip a coin. Heads you start off male, tails you start off female. Every 10 years you age, you switch genders.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody has done that in a book or somebody's campaign somewhere.
I mean, there's species of fish out there whereby, the female's dominant, all the others are males. If the female dies, the biggest and baddest of the males becomes a female and, takes the place. So, I mean, the Warcraft setting for orcs is kind of similar. The more orcs get into fights and win, the bigger they get. Up to a point where there's a bigger orc that beats them down. And then they stop growing. Otherwise, they just keep growing until they get beaten.
I didn't know that.
And that's how you get your orc war chiefs. That's why they're the bigger and baddest ones of them. Okay. They're the ones that have to keep beating the other ones up. And they also use their teeth as a currency. So, it pays to beat your underlings because that makes you more money. Their teeth also decay at a decent rate, so it's not like you can accumulate too much wealth. That just means you need more underlings to beat the teeth out of.
Wait, they decay in your head, or they decay if you collect some teeth and
In
have
theory,
a bag
they would
of teeth?
deteriorate at a similar rate inside the skull, but most orcs, I mean, it has been said the most pacifistic of orcs is, by human standards, still dangerously psychopathic. So they don't have a tendency to keep teeth in their head one way or another. So like an orc that keeps his teeth long enough to have them rot in its head is unheard of. So, yeah.
Don't they have old shaman orcs in World of Warcraft? Wait, are we talking Warhammer? Warhammer or Warcraft?
Oh, sorry, Warhammer, yeah, sorry. The craft hammer sort of combination there. There's a decent amount of overlap. So yes, but the Warhammer universe, my sincere apologies on that.
Okay, I thought I heard it wrong, or maybe I did.
I might have said it wrong. I mean, I have a tendency to, it's the war universe.
Yeah.
The 40K and the regular fantasy one. Both
the war universe.
The Games Workshop universe. How's that? It's a proper covering, yeah. They do have the older wizened ones sort of thing, but they still get their teeth beaten out because they are dangerously crazy as a species.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun for all and all for fun. But I mean, yeah, they've got some interesting things going on there, and where you can be effectively in the 40K universe, you could be the first orc on that planet, because orcs are technically like a fungal creature. They'll spread by spores, and so it could be like orc touches down on the planet and then gets shot by auto sentry guards, but you know what? It still releases spores, and so the orcs next generation rises up out of the soil sort of thing. You could be the first of the orcs on the planet. It's a thing that's possible.
I see orcs as orcs and goblins sort of things. They are creatures that sort of survive by numbers, though. So if you're an individual, your life is not that valuable to you because you have 10 other brothers who are exactly like you, or if you kill them, then oh well. If they kill you, oh well.
That's what I like about the Warhammer universe is you don't have to care about how many brothers you've got. You're all orcs. If you're all the same tribe, groovy. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. You will still keep popping out of the spores in the earth.
Yeah.
There will always be more of you, and you don't need to care because all you really care about is getting into a good fight and getting some good food and having fun, which is fighting and drinking.
Yeah, and so as opposed to being the only or the last or the first of your kind, you might care a little bit more about surviving, care more about being an individual. But I suppose that's also sort of that hero, because World of Warcraft sort of. Or Warcraft 3 started having heroic characters, how you have an army of orcs
and elite units,
and then you started Warcraft 3 was okay, we're gonna have this named guy named Thrall who's gonna be an orc, but he's a special orc, and so you don't want him to die, and if he does die, you can resurrect him somehow.
So then, when you have the concept that it's unique because it's different, or it's different because it's unique.
Probably it's unique because it's different. The difference, I would say, comes first. It's just, here's a different... I mean, in games, it's they just throw it all together. It's here's your hero. But yeah, I'd imagine, sort of evolutionarily...
So then would you say, or for a D&D game, a more unique person would be the Dwarven Fighter, the Dwarven Wizard? Because dwarves are not known for their arcane preferences.
Probably the Dwarven Wizard, although,
he's more likely to be heroic in your eyes, like a heroic unit, as opposed to the Dwarven Warrior?
Maybe, but my thought on that is that the reason dwarves don't go in for wizardry is anytime a dwarf does, they're kind of not very good at it. They kind of suck at it. So
in previous editions, they did have the natural resistance to arcane magics, and I was explaining why it was really hard for them to learn it. When 20% of your own spells fizzle, you don't want to become a mage because you're going to suck at it, because 5 spells is going to do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And they have reason to say, for the parents to say, what, you want to be a wizard? No dwarf has ever been done well at being a wizard. Which is weird, because you look at the Norse stuff where they come from, and they made the best magical items. That's true, yeah. Dwarves definitely are traditionally magical
more
in
towards
fantasy.
The artificer end of things, though, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember one story about a guy who was paid by a dwarf to move his fairy back and forth and back and forth. across the river, and he did that for 3 days, and every time, he got to the one edge, the boat was weighing down heavier, despite nothing being on there. And in the end, he asked the dwarf, instead of payment, tell me what the heck was going on. Dwarf gives him a pair of glasses, puts on glasses, and sees an entire, dwarven clan all under, cloaks of invisibility as they're moving, and that's how they move. That's why it's okay for them to move so silently.
Oh, yeah.
That you just can't see them as they go.
Yeah.
The only time that they have to worry is with water, because dwarves have a hard time swimming, deep earthy bones and all that.
If there was a dwarf, though, at Hogwarts, if a dwarf student enrolled in Hogwarts, I think you might make a case that dwarf would try extra hard because there would be lots of pressure on him to really excel. And he would become one of the best wizards ever because he had to work that hard to overcome all the other stuff.
Unfortunately, he might not even be allowed in. I've been told that the Hogwarts stuff is kind of classic racist. They don't accept goblins as mostly real people. And centaurs are perceived as not fully qualified as being all the rights.
No, it's even more of a barrier then. I mean, we're playing around with reality.
I think goblins are a nice thing because goblins have a type of magic and wizards have a type of magic, and they're not allowing each other to learn the stuff because they can't trust each other.
I think there's an alternative goblin school in the world of Harry Potter.
They teach you a bit more of a holistic style as opposed to a scholastic.
So you learn on the streets?
You learn from your own people. You get yourself apprenticed into the right area, and you learn the right magics for that sort of thing. You go for the what the name is for their bank, and then you learn the proper stuff for the secret goblin, anti theft techniques and all that, and how to make magic items that the wizards don't know about, and you'll never teach them that because those wizards, they don't even accept you as truly things. So you got those big barriers that are in place. Which is why I'm okay with rolling, potentially telling more stories in that universe, because I would like to hear a story about some of that kind of difference and how it affects how that society works. Harry doesn't give you the full story; it's all about him. He's a little greedy that way.
I feel like the arc, the whole Voldemort arc, sort of leaves a world in which
there's
old
enough
conservative
chaos and turmoil that you can make the change.
Yeah, the old conservative magic school could sort of get broken down a little bit and say,
which is why I think it's so much more, there's so much more story to be told in that universe. Is you might not be the first of your kind in goblins there, but you might be the first goblin going to a wizard school there, which is almost the same thing as the first goblin. You're treading very unfamiliar territory that way.
Yeah, but I wonder. I mean, sometimes I could imagine Rowling having the dwarf goes to wizard school. Remember Hagrid? Didn't he try out doing some magic of some kind?
Well,
he just sucked at it. He was terrible.
he's a bit more of a physical mage sort of thing. His magic, comes from both his size and his proclivity towards caring for animals.
Yeah.
So I imagine if it came down to you got to cast a Leviosa spell on that falling dragon you were trying to teach to fly, the spell would work for him every darn time.
Okay, interesting.
He just needs he has more focused motivation sort of thing.
Yeah.
I believe in Hagrid. I believe he can do it. He's a wizard, Harry. He's a wizard too.
He's a wizard too. But yeah, I can imagine a character being sort of similarly inept, the first dwarf ever. I'm going to revolutionize Hogwarts by being the first dwarf, the first non-human wizard ever to graduate, and he just is terrible at it. He just
what if
cannot.
spells don't work properly with him? He has to do things differently.
Maybe.
Leviosa works on your standard human density sort of stuff, but against the dwarven density, something more towards stone. You got to change things up a bit. You got to Leviosa. Give you a little you got to really scream it out just to stop the falling from happening.
Yeah.
So there might be some biocompatibility issues or arcanobiological compatibility issues. Yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Or what if he turned out to be evil or something like that? Or who knows?
But then no one. I mean, he'd have to stay away from being evil just to help prevent the stereotype from forming.
Yeah.
We don't allow dwarves to school because they turn out to be evil magi. That's a pretty bad thing. So, yeah, I can see him trying extra hard to be good just to make certain he doesn't get perceived in that light.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an interesting sort of thing. I mean, especially if you're the first of your species for anything. You're the first in, everything you do is how everyone's going to perceive the rest of the species.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could make an argument, do like a Marco Polo type sort of situation whereby you're going to distant lands. No one else has ever seen an elf. So if you're the elf adventuring in the lands of
Elfo Polo.
Yeah. Well, they had that. Was it Marco Polo? The
gnome
in the
yes.
Forgotten Realms.
Right.
But so yeah, what the rest of the society see you as, they see the elf as.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the issue we bring back to stuff like Star Wars. Like everyone knows Greedo. Did he shoot first? Did he not shoot first? That's another issue. But when you think of his species, you see him.
Bounty hunters. A whole species of bounty hunters.
Greedy,
men, women, children.
Bounty hunters with possibly slow reflexes.
Even the old grandmas are all bounty hunters, and they all shoot first.
I love that. I'd love to see a society like that sort of thing. It's like, oh yeah, you can do like a full conversion cyborg granny sort of thing. Just like, it's like, bullets, and the phasers bounce off. I've got the armor. It's in my skin now. That'd be pretty badass, man. Throw up the horns on that.
I like the idea too of the Star Wars universe as a place for unique races, because there
were some species you only ever saw from that bar scene on Tatooine. That's the only time they made an appearance. Officially now.
If you ask a character, you make a desperate plea, like, please, I'm the only one of my kind. Well, so are 6 other people in this bar.
And I knocked the teeth out of 3 of them and one of the eyes out of another.
Yeah, and last week just another one went extinct. So,
on the other hand, I do see a setting like Star Wars as being a nice area to have that unique person sort of thing, where it doesn't come down to like, I'm the only one of my kind sort of thing. It's like, I don't care. I'm like, you could have 1 billion of you. I'm not going to go to your planet. I don't care. I'm never going to see another one of you again.
Yeah, it's definitely a different way to tell that story. Yeah, it throws a very different light on it.
Yeah, and like the D&D fantasy sort of thing, like, how are you the only one of your kind? How are you the last of your kind? There's a big story in the Star Wars thing, so it's like, Comet got him. I was off planet at the time. Comet got everyone else.
Or the Sith or something.
I am a really bad lineage, and there's a decent reason why most people want me dead. I assure you, I do not know force powers, though. I'm just what else do they have there? I'm just a mechanic. That's all I am.
A nerf herder?
Yeah, yes. Or, I'm a moisture, evaporator, like part salesman. You go to the desert plants, you sell parts for their water collectors, and that's it. It's a good life. It's not exactly one that is going to gain you notoriety. It doesn't keep you physically fit because you spend most of your time in a ship. But you know what? It pays the bills. It puts more food on your plate. There's something to be learned about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. When it comes down to game mechanics, I do believe D&D is at a distinctive disadvantage to be the first or the last of your race. That is mitigated some point by looking at all the books I have of 3rd edition, 3.0, 3.5. There are a lot of races. You could have an amazing... You could have, like, everybody play a race that's so uncommon in the standard D&D stuff that they're only one of their kind.
Yep.
You could come up with a different backstory than the official stuff, but the stats are all there. But you do have to have the stats, and there are some people that are going to say, oh, this race is overpowered, what you've made, and this one is completely underpowered, there's no benefits. Looking at you, Dragonlance, with your Gully Dwarves that have very little positive bonuses to them. Good story playing potential, lots of fun, but stat-wise, they are a little weak.
Yeah, that's true.
Meanwhile, with a point-based system like Tri-Stat, it's like, I want a race that does this, and they go like this, but they don't do that, and you cobble it together, it's like, this is the racial package for my kind, and it cost me 20 points. And then it's like, okay, it's a little bit more powerful than the standard human, but you know what, it's a 100-point campaign, so that just means you got less skills to spend on. You're less skilled, or you're weaker or something else, and it all winds up being effectively balanced. Mm-hmm. To a better degree. GURPS and then the other point-based stuff works very well along that lines, too. Storytelling stuff doesn't have that problem. If you want to be the last of your kind, and your last of your kind happens to be the Greek Titans, you can make a good story about that. It's a thing. It can happen.
Yeah. Although I don't know how you end up dying then at the end. I suppose if there's gods in the world, then...
Or maybe like that age is gone and you are no longer immortal. You were immortal only then because of the way the world was, but the world isn't that way anymore, and thus you age and die. Same as everyone else. How do you tell your final story? You've lived so long and done so little. What will you do to make that difference, to make your life matter for once?
So who should if you...
Oh yeah, there's a story idea for that.
Yeah.
Write a short story about that, the final Titan. Go for it.
If you're the last of your kind, who should you team up with?
Well, there's also the last of your kind. You could team up, like
the last of someone else's kind?
The Omega Man sort of thing.
I mean, it's kind of, there's another, it's like your mission is to find the other last of, like the female, your female, or if you're the female, to find the male, or maybe just the right area to spore out. Maybe you're like maybe a spore type thing, but you need the right conditions. Or you have to find a scientist who can clone you.
I was going to say what might be even better for a good contrast is to find someone who's the first of their kind. Like you are the last of, I hate to use it, but we'll go with the Homo Magi, the magician people. The
magic people? All right.
I really don't like that for various reasons. I'm a meritocracy person rather than you're genetically born a wizard. But, okay, whatever. For the purposes of this example, it works. You're the last of the wizards. Okay. So you team up with the first of the artificial intelligences.
Ooh.
Sort of thing. And so it's like the end of one era and the start of another. And it's kind of like a passing of the torch as, your magus dies, sort of thing. The beliefs and the characters that made you so great throughout the thing is a lesson learned by the first of the artificial intelligences, and they will bring that to the rest of their kind as they start being made in the factories. And thus, what made you doesn't die with you. It gets carried on in some fashion with the other, which is essentially how life works, with you and me. I will one day grow old and die. I'm willing to accept that as a fact. But who I am will pass down into my daughter. I see many of my traits in her already. And she will pass that down to her children. And that it doesn't even need to be genetic. She could adopt. We could adopt other kids to a thing, and they would become just as much my family as anyone else because they would be like me. And that's the true essence of the self.
Yeah, and I like that sort of fluid nature of humanity because it's sort of like who is in the human family? Like, do we count our pets as being in our human family?
Some people very much do. Some people give the pets the same last name as they do.
Yeah, and I mean, at some point, robots, our robot servants, will they be like? Is Rosie Jetson, or?
Apparently no, because she does have another mother, sort of like the one that created her. But I mean, like, if artificial intelligence winds up being a thing, I would not mind having like ENIAC Kirkby. I'd probably try and choose a better name for that, but it's just the first one that came off to my head. Like, what's a good person's name? Johnny-ack Kirkby.
All right.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I raised Johnny-ack Kirkby, and it doesn't matter that it's I'm a biological thing, and it's technically a digital intelligence. Because I raised it, it is mine and it is family, and thus, while I may be the last generation of humans to go along before the rise of the machines, what makes me, and what makes my family us, will not end with us. It will carry on, through the computer, which has, Johnny-ack, which has learned from us.
Do you think this is something that's unique to our modern age? Because we have a lot of movies and stuff with mythology, like, Ice Age. It's like you make a family out of all these, like a mammoth and a sloth and a saber-toothed tiger. You create a family out of that.
I think it's more pronounced. I mean, they're like the mysterious or magical journey thing, where a goat, a sheep, and like a hen and some other, like a dog, all go together to do this one thing. They're effectively the family. They're looking for the master of the farm, sort of thing, that was, I assumed, like, died, sort of thing, went off. Oh, I'm sick, I'll go to the doctor, and then winds up dying, and no one takes care of the farm, because it was just him out in the middle of nowhere. And so the animals, like, oh, we got to go find our master, and they all go together. Dog, cat, sheep, pig, and goat, and all that all go together for a wondrous journey.
Well, I should point out that example, those animals are all sort of connected because they would logically be in a farm together. So it
they're just like, well, hey, the master's not back. Maybe we should go see what's keeping him so long. It's been a week, and the cat's kind of looking at the chicken funny. So let's keep things civil and just go on an adventure.
I'm wondering just at what point in the history of humans telling stories to each other, we started. Well, maybe it's always been a theme, because I suppose, like, we started saying that...
I think it's always been a theme. There's been some very deep stories about it has to be you and your family, and if it's not you and your family, then everything is lost. And I mean, like Hamlet, I mean, like, it was like, his father dies, but his uncle's now on the throne. It's like, uncle's still pretty closely related. On a biological genetic perspective, not that bad. Still very close genes in the position of power where you typically want them to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd be a little cheesed if, my uncle killed my dad, too.
Yeah, if he was also a murderer, they'd be like,
On the other hand, I'd be more willing to forgive him because he's family.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like, no more patricide. No more
You're
killing
the king now,
family.
So you don't have any reason to go killing any other people.
As long as I'm next in line on the throne, I think we can come to an agreement. I was number 2 before. I can stay number 2 for a little while longer, and I won't poison your drink if you don't stab me in my sleep. Deal? I'm coming honest on you here. Come on. I mean, royal families don't usually work this clean cut. Let's make a deal here. So yeah, I think like as you can see, I mean, look at the royal siblings now with William and all that. Historically, they'd be very against each other because they're both so close to getting the throne. But now they joke, they have fun. They're siblings to each other, like everyone else is siblings to their brothers and sisters, and it's a very different thing. So I think the story of the family as who you make of it is a very different one than has historically been told.
Yeah, although when you mention the farm animals, Journey to the West is a Chinese, or is it Indian? It's one of these epic adventure tales from way back. I don't know how long ago. Probably from
millennia,
from Middle Ages times, I think, in China.
We'll say 1,000 years.
But it creates a party. I think they're humans though. Their names are Pig, Monkey, and I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
I remember
Monkey
and
Pig.
Pig.
Stuff where it's all people, but they have the personality of the monkey, and so they call them monkey.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. So I think they have sort of that. There's an inkling of the party of heroes. That might be the earliest example, I don't know, of a party of disparate...
I think we can get a better example with Thor and his family being the adventuring crew.
Okay, but
Thor,
are they...
Loki, another person sort of thing,
But aren't Thor and Loki sort of half-brothers and stuff? Like,
it's debatable as to which story you're going on. Their mythology got heavily fractured when Christianity took over everything and said, stop learning this old stuff.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, sort of there's this idea, which D&D has totally embraced, well, I don't know if totally embraced, but D&D has this idea, yeah, you have a dwarf and a gnome in your party, and an elf, and now we have, now there's a dragonborn in your party, and you can have a fairy and everything like that. So I like this, I like this idea that it just very different, extremes, as extreme as you can get, different, and then to the point where Ice Age, it's like, here's a mammoth, and here's a saber-toothed tiger, and a sloth, and a squirrel, the squirrel
said, I do believe the story of Predator versus Prey was told better under the Madagascar movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another good one. Yeah, different collection of animals.
I mean, that way, it's like the Alex the lion, like starting to see his friends that he'd been with for years as a food source, because he is a predator. Mm-hmm. He is carnivorous. So this is a bit. I think that bit was told better. But very dissimilar types, but they become a family as one. That might go back to some of our more ancient times. Back to it's like, everyone else in the tribe was killed, like a plague swept through land, so whoever's left over from any of the other tribes will all grow together, and now we're one tribe. It was a thing that kind of had to happen every once in a while because life was horrible.
Well,
thank goodness for civilization.
I don't know how often it would have really happened in real life, but I'd imagine a lot of times that if all of your tribe died out except for you, you probably would end up dying too.
Well, that's the reason why humanity survived, whereas some of our cousin species of not quite humans didn't. We were much more social, and so we had those connections. We'd be making the trades. Like they found like Stone Age stuff where you could not find this shell within thousands of kilometers, and it would have to go through like a trade network. It's like, ooh, I like that bead. Ooh, I like that bead. Ooh, I like. So it makes trades back and forth. And no one person went down there and got it and came back. It just kind of made its way through. So if something happens and all but 2-3 members of your town, your little tribal society is dead, you go I guess we're gonna go down to the neighbors and see if they want more people in their family, sort of thing. And then you wind up being they're living next to us, and it's they got married. No, I guess they're found family now.
I guess so. I mean,
we were much more willing, apparently, to accept strangers in with us.
Well, there's tension with that, because sometimes they would say, no, that's another mouth to feed. We can't, and you don't know our ways, and we don't trust you. And
on the other end, you'll have to learn the ways, and it's not like it was up for negotiation, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Learn the ways, or just keep walking. I'm afraid we can't, feed these extra miles. You're going to have to keep trying out. You head down this way about 3 days, journey, you'll find another tribe. Maybe they can take you there. So the added sociability is probably what got that. And that might be the best origins for the last of the kind. And it's probably where some stories originated. Mm-hmm. The last of the not quite humans. Or it's oh man, that guy was almost 7 feet tall. He must come from the last of a line of giants. When it was really just, they knew how to milk cows, and there's a lot of good calcium in the bones. Mm-hmm. People could grow that tall. It's a thing. You can do that. You can do that now. Drink your milk, kids.
And you'll be 7 feet tall.
It won't hurt your bone structure if you're going to wind up being 7 feet tall. You need your calcium.
That's true, yeah.
You need those strong bones to make sure your ankles don't break under the weight of your own body. Come on.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately... the last of your kind does kind of tell a bit more of a depressing story. When you're the first of your kind, it's a story of hope and start and a good fresh chance. Mm-hmm. When you're the last of your kind, it's just what do you leave for your epitaph before you're gone? Or how much do you want to change the perception of your people by being different? What do you want to do to make sure your last efforts change how everyone sees all of you?
Yeah, because if it's a fantasy world with other sentient races in it that are going to come after, then yeah, you could serve as an example for them, for the other sentient races. If it's like Earth or something that's last human, then it's I guess maybe aliens in 1 billion years will come by the planet. Oh, hey, there was a civilization here once. Let's see what they wrote.
The radiation levels say, yeah. Well, I think we know what got them.
Yes, and I guess also you can spin it. It is definitely, in a way, it's depressing.
What
but
if it's a story about you being the last of the humans, and for your final mark, you set off all the remaining bombs sort of thing to completely blow the planet into an asteroid crater?
I'm taking all the animals and plants with me.
That was the final mark of humanity. For good or for ill, you will know us. You will see what we were capable of. Even if it was only destruction.
Yeah.
And you are so happy we never got off the planet. That was the best thing that could have happened to the cosmos.
I don't know. I'd imagine...
warning, we could have done this to you.
And then, 1 million years later, some bacteria survived the nuclear holocaust because life does that.
Life's very good at doing that. It's kind of creepy that way.
And the Earth simply just repopulates, even more diverse than it was before.
Not the way I'm thinking of destroying it. You're just going to have to go on a meteorite field. I'm making a new, meteor belt around the system, man. I'm nuking the Earth that bad. It's the fun. This is the Omega Man. That's what I do.
I don't... If you're the last person, you're only one... Well, maybe you have a robot army. Okay.
Yeah. They're not true intelligences, but they're, good enough and calm enough they can get me all the world's remaining bombs together at once.
Yeah.
I'm going out making a small black hole with the hydrogen bombs left on the planet. This is the epitaph of humanity: a small black hole orbiting a pale yellow sun.
I don't think there's enough atomic bombs to make a black hole.
There's enough hydrogen bombs on the planet if they were to go off at the right point, the right time, all at once. Yeah.
To make a black hole, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it. It's legitimately crazy. The math is not definitive, but the answer is yeah, that's a valid outcome. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe we should stop making this kind of bomb. This is not just, get rid of the enemy. This is turn the planet into a thimble. Ouch.
I don't think
it wouldn't be a permanent sort of
possible.
You can look it up.
Okay, well, somebody look it up.
Heck, this is the future of a post.
But I suppose, okay, it's future, yeah, all right. with future technology.
It's called the 0 point bomb because it turns the entire planet into a 0 point speck.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I do as the final human with my final action? I detonate.
Yeah,
it's a grim, stark short story about what humanity will leave behind as a warning to anything else that ever dares be sentient in our area of the universe.
Yeah. And then the rest of the universe is like, we don't care.
Oh, I bet you if they see, it's like, wow, they detonate themselves. There's just a small black hole orbiting around a star there. It's a good thing they never got off the planet. Imagine what they could have done with more time and better tech.
We technically did get off the planet for a brief while.
I don't really consider it getting off the planet if you were sitting on top of a controlled explosion. Until we come up with something that gets us off in a more civilized manner, it's still quite crude by my standards.
I suppose.
I expect better from us if we're going to be going out into space on a routine basis.
Then you don't count driving as driving because you're sitting on top of a controlled explosion.
It's a way to get us from A to B, but I mean, it still don't top up with the Jetsons. It's like, I shall fold my car up into a briefcase and walk away. Parking spot, I don't need to pay for that. I'll just take my suitcase car in with me.
How did the Jetsons cars... I guess it wouldn't be the internal combustion engine, although it does make a noise and a little bit of smoke too, right?
I don't even know if it's smoke. It might just be concentrated like gravity waves behind them.
It might be
given
water
the
vapor.
Opportunity, I wouldn't mind getting like a handful of sawdust and throwing it behind just to see how the particles react and that sort of thing. Is it smoke or is it actual like graviton particle emission affecting like how we see it, like condensing the light waves into an area that looks like a ring?
Now, in the Jetsons...
I'm probably overthinking that, though. The Jetsons were pretty simplistically futuristic.
Were there aliens in the Jetsons?
Yes. Mostly alien type of animal stuff. They could still speak, though. Okay. They had like a... it was kind of like a plush toy sort of thing with like, like rubber legs, spring legs sort of thing. Some evidence of like nothing like a gray alien.
But yeah,
why they didn't have gray aliens? They could have had so much fun with that.
Well, the Jetsons wasn't sort of a Star Trek, Star Wars universe where it was like sort of jet setting the galaxy and here's this other race and here's this other. The Jetsons was very domestic. It was like
slice
this is
of
what
life
we're going to be like in the future. They can go to Jupiter. And maybe even Alpha Centauri. I don't know if they ever...
They were going all sorts of fun places.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. It was like, oh yeah, there's an amusement park there. Let's go there.
Okay.
Whee!
So yeah, did they go to other star systems in the Jetsons? Do you remember?
Yeah. It was just like a long distance vacation. Like you got to go there for like a week long tour. But yeah, it was a thing.
So, but Jupiter wasn't a long visit. Jupiter would be
be like going to a neighboring city. Jupiter would be like us going to Vancouver.
Okay.
It's not going to be like an instant travel sort of thing, but it ain't that far. If you want to go, you can go. You got to set aside a day or two, but you can do it.
Yeah. I find that weird that, the Jetsons was all about the future, but there wasn't a big emphasis on aliens. It was very human-centered. It was very centered on the Jetsons as a human, white American family that just happened to be living in the future.
Which is especially interesting when you look at some of the other stuff for like the Alf series. Alf was the last of his kind, sort of thing, but it was really a slice of life comedy. There, it doesn't really matter that most of the time that he was the last Melmacian. All that really mattered was that he wants to eat that cat, and that's funny because it's a different societal thing.
Yeah, it was funny.
It lasted 3 seasons, right? And
I liked Alf. I loved it as a kid.
I didn't get a lot of opportunity to see the TV show, but I did like the comics that they produced.
Yeah, I read some of the comics too. Yeah.
Good work all told. Good voice work done. And a unique premise. I don't know if it would fly in this day and age to have the last creature from Melmac living with a bunch of people. Too many people would see it as like, oh, I get it. He's an illegal alien that needs to hide. Like wink, wink, wink. So when the neighbors or immigration officers.
They did it in American Dad. And is that still on that show?
Yeah, it's still going. And they're doing some very nice stuff with it. From time to time. Other times it's just like, we got a filler episode, whatever.
Yeah.
Their song ones, I think, are the best.
Okay.
But that works a little differently because Roger, he can just like put on a wig and walk out, and everyone seems to like automatically assume, he must just like an ugly lady or something, and that becomes like a like, okay, the first couple seasons he had to hide because he's an alien, but it's like, he wears a wig, whatever. He's got multiple different lives, whatever. Why is he still living with them is kind of an issue. He can live his own life, and most people won't realize it until he self-destructs because he's a narcissistic jerk sometimes. Mm-hmm. But the recurring thing with him is that he's got multiple lives going on. He's done other things, whereas Elf, and you'd have to put a lot of stuff on Elf to disguise him as passably human.
Yeah, well, I think they sometimes disguise him as a dog.
Yeah. Put a lot of stuff on him, call him like the
and then he starts talking to people, and they're like, "Is the dog talking?"
No. Of course, mind you, if they really want to take a dark turn, they could just take a note from like the Son of Sam stuff, and just like whenever somebody catches the dog talking, just have Elf look at them and go, "I want you to kill. I want you to kill them all, just like the Son of Sam," and just have the person just break mentally. I gotta go home and take a lot of medication. Bam! That's the end of that episode, and it's hilarious because it's dark despite the usual comedy. Ha ha ha.
I think he didn't ever, he didn't say kill, but I think he did at times mess with people who, like, didn't know that he was an alien or whatever.
That seems to be a recurring thing, though. I recall Spider-Man having some fun with people like, oh no, I've got a gun to this lady's head, and Spider-Man, he puts his, like, a hand up to his head, like a mental concentration, and one hand down on the ground. The guy's, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm summoning the spiders. They'll crawl up all over you because I'm Spider-Man, and I can do that." So that's a creative abuse of an unknown factor. Mm-hmm. Elf can threaten people. I will, negate your existence with my alien existence negator ray, and then people will buy because he's an alien. He might be able to do that, and so they keep quiet. Where Spider-Man can pretend he can control spiders to scare a person, and get them off guard. It's the same game. So just getting back to the final thing, does it matter to you that Elf was a comedy, despite the fact it could very well have been a tragedy? Like, his entire planet exploded. He is the last of his kind.
Well, I am done with this line. Like, in movies today, it's either a comedy or a drama. I'm done with that line. I don't need that anymore. I want movies to be both funny and dramatic.
It does heighten the aspects when done right, both ways.
I don't want
dramedy.
From now on, I decree that nobody's going to listen to me, but no movies are going to be either one or the other. It's always going to be both.
You want greater breadth and not just depth of the one field.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess then my question to you would have been the same as asking, like, were you okay with the Three Stooges being a comedy when it really could have been portrayed as a sadistic horror?
I'd like to see a little more drama, because here's the thing. I think that
so that's the thing. You got to win the lottery. Then you're going to redo the Three Stooges. But when they hurt each other, they stay hurt. When somebody puts
they die.
When they're like pressing the one guy's head and they put an iron to his bottom, those marks stay on. He is scalded and burned. You're going to play it up as just the scene as a horrific.
I think that makes it funnier. I think drama enhances comedy. Comedy enhances drama.
It'd be a dark comedy, though. You got to give it that.
Yeah.
I have seen one episode for the Three Stooges where guy's got to, take, the dog got wet sort of thing. I spilled, like the face water on him. And the guy picks him up and wrings the dog out like a rag. And it's actually, like the dog is sort of thing, he picks up the dog, cut to a scene of him with a fake dog, wringing it around like 720 degrees, wringing it out and then putting it down when the dog's all dry now. Ruff, ruff. It's just fun use of edit, but you look at it and you think, that's a real dog, oh my god, he shattered its spine. If it wasn't played for comedy, it would be incredibly grim and just brutal.
Yep.
So okay, I guess that's I withdraw my question of Alf being a comedy.
I dodged your question.
No, you countered it superbly, I believe, in this point.
I guess so.
Although you must admit, the final of a species does lend itself more towards a tragic storytelling, or much more of a downer, as opposed to the potential fun, wacky comedy of a fish out of water. I'm the first of my species. I don't understand all the complex idiosyncrasies of society.
Yeah. I should remind the listeners that we have an email address, thesimulationist@gmail.com.
So if you know a wonderful story like that we had forgotten. There's a few we haven't seen. That movie 9 was about like a bunch of doll people in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. So it'd be like the final end of humanity, the start of themselves. If you say, like, you guys got to watch this, this is the one that will completely define what your beliefs are in this, let us know. The Simulationist, you know.
The Simulationist at Gmail or or on Facebook.com, the Simulation, or /the Simulationist. I should finish my words. I don't always, I know, but...
you can put up a comment on the whole thing over on YouTube when you listen to us on there for this one.
Yeah, YouTube has little boxes that you can type comments in, and you can share it with your friends very easily on YouTube, or you can find us on iTunes, where you can write reviews for us. And you give us...
Make it a challenge with your friends. Find out how many movies were the first of a species or the last of a species is a central focus, and see how big of a list you can come up with stuff we never even mentioned.
Yeah, make a big list.
It is a fairly vast field.
Yeah, and am I forgetting any others? Well, there's all kinds of... I'm also on Twitter, at SpaceBoot1 is my Twitter.
That's the numeral 1, not O-N-E.
That's right, SpaceBoot numeral 1 on Twitter. And I think that's all the social medias.
Well, you could try us on other ones, but we're not actually on that, so you'd just be kind of speaking to a wall there.
Yeah.
So,
there is a subreddit on Reddit. There's a Simulationist subreddit, but I'm not sure how it's... The rules are like you're not supposed to promote yourself, so it's not really active. Right
You'd
now.
have to promote it for us,
so maybe some listener might have to post something Simulationist.
Or I'm going to have to wear a fancy fake mustache and pretend to be someone else. Have you heard of this Simulationist podcast? How many movies did they get? This seems like a very long list. Let's cobble it together.
Indeed.
No, I won't do that, because that would ruin my level of authenticity, and I prize that very valuably. So, someone else will have to make that list. I won't do it just for the sake of us. I'm sorry, George, I can't.
Also you can talk about the Simulationist on Reddit under podcasts, which is a bit more of an active category, like general podcasts. So you can talk about us and other of your favorite podcasts. If you do,
send us a link, man, through one of the other stuff, so we know and we can watch.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
We'll try, of course. We'll do our best.
I suppose we should wrap up the show at this point.
Final thoughts there, Josh, as to the first and the last of the kind?
First and the last. I like it. I like both.
I think there's a lot of storytelling to be done there. It does. I think with the House of Usher, though, it doesn't necessarily need to be the last of your kind, as in a species. It can just be the last of your kind, as in family. You can be like the last noble, although it doesn't really matter to the people because they had like a French Revolution sort of thing. So you got to get out of the country before you lose your head, sort of thing. And then here's the adventures of the nobleman, or the renegade, rogue nobleman as he goes about, in the rest of Europe, but has to stay away from France because he likes his neck in one piece.
It's funny too, because like I read a little bit about like the last houses. There are, Germany used to be a bunch of different it was sort of an empire, sort of like a bunch of different principalities and stuff. But you can literally look up in Germany. You can find people who call themselves Prince of this and that, Prince of this, Prince of Prussia, and there's literally a guy who
still
says,
there and definitive.
Yeah, who still claims that throne, and there is still a line of people who claim the Russian throne, like the Tsars. There are still people
I don't know.
there
Given what happened to the last active Tsar, maybe you don't want to be loudly making that claim. Maybe just say, genetically, I am the heir to the Russian throne, although there is no throne to actually claim these days.
It's very interesting, the
Plus, the
people
KGB is very proactive. They might not like you trying to stake a claim. Be very careful about that, sir. Prussia's an okay claim to make. You say, I'm heir to the Prussian throne. Yeah, make that claim. That's good and all that. But making Russian claims is a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah, I can't remember now where the Russian... I think she lives in Spain or something like that.
Well, mind you, there's negative ones like that. There is technically relations to Adolf Hitler living in America.
Oh,
they have changed their name, but they are descendants and related, connections to the most infamous man in history.
Actually, who I'm curious about? I want to know, and I haven't got around to Googling it or Wikipedia or looking in the Wikipedia, but I'm wondering if Napoleon has descendants currently around. Probably.
Maybe not direct descendants sort of thing, but it might be, he had, like a brother or a cousin sort of thing, and it works down through that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the closest related, by a living person to Napoleon probably is out there.
Because I know he set up some of his family members as, monarchs of other countries in Europe, and then they would have married into the other existing monarchy families, because, like, you know, all of the monarchies
but
of
as
Europe
we've
are all
learned
related.
from Richard III and his bone remains lately, that may not necessarily have guaranteed that their descendants were really their descendants.
Yeah,
there
right.
seems to be
yeah,
at
yeah.
least as much infidelity going on in the royal family of that era as a soap opera would have you believe happens these days.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, just make sure, just because they're descendants, you know, of that throne and one of his you know, family members married in, doesn't necessarily mean it's genetically connected. Although, as I've discussed, it's not like that really matters all that much. Your family is those who are like you and those who you accept in. I think that's ultimately the story to tell. I would much prefer that story to tell, that it's not about the genetics.
Mm-hmm.
If I am a Kirkby, then either my daughter is half of a Kirkby, or my father is 200% Kirkby. According to genetics, things don't work out quite the same way, and so I think it's a better story to tell that your kids are those who you raise and those who are like you and those who have that bond, that connection, as opposed to just something like, oh yeah, there's 50% genetic compatibility here, and it says, yeah, you got to be the father. That doesn't show a lot of connection. There's a lot of people there who have kids. They're not the father too, I'll say.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's, I think, is possibly the best way to mention the story for the first to last of your kind. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be alone. And that may be the best thing about it.
Okay, well, cool. That's been a podcast.
The first of your kind sort of thing does have a very mythic feel to it. I would love to see a story where it's like the first intelligence, you know, like autonomous, you know, robot, you know, humanoid sort of thing is done in a similar mode to the origin, you know, sort of thing of like the Norse gods. So might be some interesting. I mean, heck, Odin's two brothers effectively just become like the sentience of the air and the wind, and so you could have like the one, you know, the Odin bot sort of thing, retain the physical one, whereas the other ones decide to upload to like a cloud server sort of thing. Ooh. Their mentality still exists. They just decided they don't like the physical form. They decided to stay pure digital. And so you could actually do an interesting story that parallels utilizing artificial intelligence as opposed to Norse deities. You could even have two different, artificial intelligence depending on how they're created. And then there's your Aesir-Vasir differences. And then they realize there's not that much of a difference between us. We both wind up becoming effectively the same sort of thing. So it doesn't matter that we started off in rival companies. Or, you know, intelligence gathering processes to become sentient. Good storytelling, and if you're up to the challenge, I think it could be very rewarding. You write out a novel like that, I think that stands a decent chance of publication.
There you go.
I'm not guaranteeing, man. I mean, don't hold me to the wall on this one. But there's worse stories to be told, and very different ways to take it, depending on epic Norse version versus modern style. You could be the first of the Moreau sort of people, like the cat people, you know, like I was genetically created in a lab. There's only me, and because they caught the guy who made me and they shot him for acts against humanity, there will only really be me.
Actually, yeah. Speaking of that, to go on another tangent,
a final
tangent. There are people among us in humanity around nowadays who do body modification, and there's like the lizard man, the cat man, and you wonder...
The conundrum where you got the tattoo stuff, like puzzle pieces everywhere.
People with different... And you wonder if those people aren't reaching for some of that, because that's something, like, for them it's desirable to be completely unique, to be unlike anybody else.
And there's just stuff you say, that would be cool. Like, I can get artificial horns. It'd just be like two nubs growing out of my skull, and I can hook on horns to that. Just do it. What's the cost on that? How much pain is it? I can think, I'll have to do it.
Although, like, who becomes the second cat person? Like, you know, there's the cat man who, like, you know, does the body modification, gets whiskers and everything, like real, like,
gets the teeth
body modification. Sharpens the teeth to look like a cat. But then who's the second person who does exactly the same thing? And what does that first person think of the second person to become a cat person?
That's an interesting story to tell. What if you're not the first of your kind, you're the second of your kind? You know, the Buzz Aldrin, first man to land on the moon and walk on it. You're the second guy.
The middle child.
Yeah, you are the stagger step behind. Do you try and copy that first person because that's what you want to be? It's like, that's the only footsteps I have to follow. I got to be like this guy. Or do you try and forge your own path? Like, I don't want to be like like a secondary version. I don't want to be like a knockoff brand of this guy. I got to be my own self. So. Very interesting point you raised at the final moments there, Josh.
That's what our listeners can take home, and if you're listening to this late at night, you can fall asleep thinking about
what if I was the second of my kind? Or the second to last one? What if I'm the penultimate, like you got a series of clones, and you know that the other clone won't go out of the birthing vat tank until you're flatlining. So it's like, I'm not going to be dead. Me isn't going to be dead until I'm dead and the next guy goes, but I won't know what happens with the other guy. I got to forge my own path still, even knowing there's still one more backup. You could tell an interesting story of reincarnation. You got 6 chances to come back. What do you do with each one of them as you get progressively closer to that final death? Yeah. Very interesting permutations to take on it. Have some fun with it. Write a short story. Save up the idea, write it down on a piece of paper, come back to it next November for NaNoWriMo, and then you've got your topic already set up.
Yeah, you're ready to go. Cool.
So you take care out there, everybody. We'll see you again in 7 days.
Yeah, I've been Josh 11.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Good night.